Whether you are marking national holidays for different countries or keeping up with important birthdays, having a dynamic calendar in your spreadsheet can save you time and effort. I am Nabil Murad. In this tutorial, I show you how to build a dynamic calendar that not only adjusts seamlessly to any month in any year, but also allows you to personalize it for your unique needs of national holidays, birthdays, or events. Let's see the finished project. Here is my finished project. This is the month calendar for October 2024. I can change the month by clicking on the left scroll bar. So this is September 2024, and this is August 2024 and July 2024. I can also switch to another year by clicking on the second scroll bar. So this is 2025, this is 2026. Let's go back to October 2024. So in October 2024, we have a national holiday, Columbus Day, which happens to be on Monday, the 14th of October, and it's highlighted on the calendar. So if I move to another month by clicking on the scroll bar, in November 2024, there are two national holidays, and you can read the names of the national holiday below the calendar. But I can also switch to any country. So if I click on USA, I have a drop list. And if I select Canada, in November 2024, there is Remembrance Day, which is highlighted on the calendar. I can move to a previous month, Thanksgiving Day. I can move to September 2024, where we have two national holidays, and then August, the civic holiday. And if I move to the previous month, July 2024, the 1st of July is Canada Day. Let's build this calendar from ground up in Excel. Here is my start file. You can download the exercise file and follow along and read my blog article having all the functions in details by clicking on the link below the video. In the holidays worksheet, I have a list of holidays in different countries. In column A, I have a country. In column B, which is hidden, I have a flag. Let's unhide it, right click and unhide. And then in column C, I have the holiday. In column D, I have the date corresponding to the year that appears in cell C1. Right now, C1 is static, but later on, I'll make it dynamic and link it to the calendar. All these dates are dynamic and calculated by functions. We have some hidden columns here. If I unhide, you will see that I have a column for the day, I have a column for the month, the weekday, and the occurrence. So the date corresponding to each holiday is calculated dynamically by using different functions like the date function, the large, the small, the floor functions. You can learn about these functions by clicking on my blog article. The link is in the description below the video. But for this tutorial, I'm not focusing on these functions, so I'm going to hide these columns, and I'm going to hide this column as well where I have the flag, and I start creating my project in the monthly worksheet. In the monthly worksheet, I have a list that shows the month number and the month name in columns T and U, and I'm going to use them in my project and hide them. I start my project by going to the Developer tab because I want to create two scroll bars. I click on the down arrow for the Insert command, and I select the scroll bar. I click and drag to create my first scroll bar that will control the month, and I want to create another copy, so I hit Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy it and paste it, and I'm going to position it in columns H and G. Each one of the scroll bars will be linked to one of the cells. So the right scroll bar that controls the year will be linked to H1, and the left scroll bar which controls the month will be linked to cell B1. To do that, I click on Properties on the Developer tab, and in the Properties dialog box, I want to link this control to cell H1. So for the linked cell, I type H1, and then I'm going to change the maximum to 2050 and the minimum to 2010. And for the value, I want the year 2024. I close the Properties dialog box, and I can see 2024. I want to change the property for the other scroll bar, so I click on Properties. I will link it to cell B1. I'll set the maximum to 12 and the minimum to 1. This corresponds to the 12 month. For the value, let's select the month of October, which is 10. I select cell DEF, and on the Format Cell dialog box, Control 1, I want to center across selection. On the Alignment tab, I select Center Across Selection, and I want to add a thick blue bottom border, so I select the border. On the Borders tab, I change the color, and I want to add a bottom border. I hit OK. I start creating my function in cell D1. I type equal XLOOKUP, and then I hit tab. I want to look at the month in cell B1, and my lookup array will be the range of months in numbers in column T, comma, I want the return value from column U, the month name. I close the bracket for my XLOOKUP function. I need a space, so I type Shift 7, double quote, space, double quote, and then I want to join it to the year coming from cell H1. So I type a second joining operator and I select cell H1. When I hit enter, now I have October 2024. I will hide the contents of B1 and H1. I select B1, I press Ctrl H1, and I change the color to white so no one will see them anymore. On the Developer tab, here is the design mode. Before turning it off, I select my first control, I press the Control key, and I select the second one. I want to move them in their final position in row number 1. I can turn off the design mode, and now I start building my calendar. To understand the concept of building the calendar, what if I select any random cell and I ask what's the date value of cell D1? So I type equal date value. I select cell D1, and then when I hit enter, I get a number. That's the 1st of October 2024. But which day of the week is that? I can use a weekday function to calculate it. So I type equal weekday, and then I hit tab. I want the weekday of cell D1. I close the bracket and then hit enter. It says 3. The weekday function defaults to a Sunday. Sunday is day number 1, Monday is 2, 3 means a Tuesday. And because I want to start my calendar with a Sunday, what was the date of the Sunday preceding the 1st of October? To do that, I have to move from Tuesday to Sunday. That means I need to subtract 2 from this number, or in other words, I need to subtract the weekday and add 1. So if I type an equal sign, and then I select the number returned by the date value function, I subtract the weekday function, and I add 1. When I hit enter, that should be the date of the Sunday preceding the 1st of October 2024. Now let's put all that and build our calendar. Our calendar consists of 6 weeks and 7 days. So I can create a sequence function that builds the calendar. So I type equal sequence and then I hit tab. I want 6 rows corresponding to 6 weeks, comma, I want 7 columns corresponding to the 7 days of the week, comma, and here comes my function, the date value minus the weekday plus 1. So I type date value of D1 minus weekday of D1 plus 1. I close the bracket for the sequence function, and when I hit enter, these are the numbers corresponding to my calendar. I select them and I use the shortcut Control Shift 3. Now I can see the 1st of October starting here. 2 days earlier, it was a Sunday, the 29th of September. Of course, we are going to turn off all the dates that are outside the selected month, but we need first to add the weekdays on top. So I'm going to use a VStack function that puts the weekdays, abbreviated Sunday, Monday, and so on top of my sequence function. So if I edit my function, I put it in the edit mode F2, and I want to wrap the sequence function in a VStack function. So I type VStack and then I hit tab. What would you like to stack? I want the weekdays on top of the sequence function, then I type them in curly brackets. Here is an opening curly bracket, the weekdays, and then I close the curly bracket and I type a comma. I need to close the bracket for the VStack function, and when I hit enter, here is my calendar. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's the 1st of October. These need formatting, but you got the idea. I want to copy this function, my vstack function, and because I don't want the user to type all this long function, I'm going to put it in a lambda function. I copy my vstack function, Control C, I hit escape, I hit delete, and I want to create a lambda function. The lambda function will allow me to create a variable, and then I'll use this variable in a function. I type equal lambda, and then I hit tab. My parameter, because I'll be selecting month and year, I can name it something like month and year. So I type month, year, and then comma, that's the name of the variable, and then I paste my vstack function, Control V. The only variable is cell D1, and I want to replace cell D1 with month and year. Every occurrence of cell D1 will be replaced by month and year. We have two occurrences, and now I close the bracket for my lambda function. To test the function, I type in brackets cell D1. When I hit enter, here is the result, and this will be my calendar. Let's hide these two columns and then copy the lambda function without the D1 and the brackets, Control C, I hit escape, and I delete it from here. To be able to reuse this function at any time, then I save it in a defined name. I go to the Formulas tab of the ribbon, I click on Define Name, and I want to name my function mCalendar. And in the Refers To box, I can paste my lambda function. Now I hit OK, and we are ready to test our calendar. I go to cell B3, I type equal mCalendar, I can see it in the IntelliSense list, I hit the tab key. All what I need to do is to select cell D1, I close the bracket, and when I hit enter, here is my full calendar. I have basic formatting, blue color and center alignment applied to row number 3, and I have a custom formatting applied to this range. If I open the Format Cell dialog box to the number group, this is custom formatting that shows DD. To improve the appearance of my calendar, I need to apply two conditional formatting rules. The first rule will turn off the dates that do not correspond to October 2024, and to do that, I select the range from B4 down to H9. I go to the Home tab of the ribbon, I click on Conditional Formatting, New Rule, Use a Formula. And I type equal month, and I open bracket. I click on cell B4 and I unlock it to remove the $sign, hitting F4 3 times, and I close the bracket. If the month of cell B4 does not equal the month in cell B1 returned by the scroll bar, so I type does not equal greater than smaller than, and I click on cell B1, I keep it locked. In this case, change the color to very light gray so that no one will see the numbers. I click on Format on the Font tab. I want to change the color to light gray. I hit OK twice, and I would have created the first rule, and the dates from the previous and next month are now hidden. I want to create another rule that adds some borders. I select the whole range from B3 to H9. I click on Conditional Formatting, New Rule, Use a Formula. And this time I want to create some borders if we have some contents. So I say if cell B3, I click on cell B3, is not blank, double quote, then in this case I click on Format, I go to the Borders tab, I want a blue border, I select the color, and then I click on Outline, and then I hit OK twice, and now I have a nice border all around. I created my calendar, and now I want to add national holidays from any country. To do that, I create a drop list from which I select the country in cell B11. I select the cell B11, and then I want to create a drop list. I go to the Data tab of the ribbon. I click on Data Validation. I want to allow a list. I put my blinking cursor in the source box, and I want to select the different countries from the holidays worksheet. I start by selecting the first country in cell A3, and then I hit Shift Control down arrow. I release the control and I press Shift down arrow to add one blank cell. So if I want to turn off the holidays, I select the blank cell. In Office 365, then Excel will be automatically removing the duplicate values. When I hit OK, I can test my drop list. I can select Canada, I can select USA, and I can turn off the rule by selecting the blank. Let's keep Canada selected. In cell F1, I want to type the text holidays, and now I want to make the holidays dynamic. In cell H1, I have the year, and I want to link it to the holidays. And in cell B11, I have the drop list, and I want to link it to the holidays as well. So I go to the holidays worksheet, and in cell C1, where I have the year that is static, I type an equal sign, I click on the monthly worksheet, and I click on H1 and I hit enter. Then I'm linking it. It becomes dynamic. If I change the year by using the scroll bar, all these dates will update instantly. In cell M5, I want to reference the country selected from the drop list because I have a preparation list that I'm creating here in which I'll be extracting the holidays for the selected country. So I type an equal sign and then I click on the monthly worksheet and I click on the drop list cell B11 and I hit enter. We also need to extract the flag of the selected country, and I'll do that in cell N5. I can unhide column B to see the flag and then rehide it one more time. In cell N5, I use a VLOOKUP function, equal VLOOKUP, and then I hit tab. My lookup value will be the country, one cell to my left, comma. My lookup array will be from A3 and B3 down to the end, Shift Control down arrow, and then Control backspace, comma 2, because I need a return value from the second column, comma 0 for exact match. I close the bracket, and when I hit enter, I would have extracted the flag. Now we need the holidays for the selected country. The country is selected from the drop list in the monthly worksheet. And if I change it, it will change in the holidays worksheet. And if I change the year will change and all the holidays will update as well. Now to extract the holidays for Canada, I use a filter function, equal filter, and then I hit tab. What do you want to filter? I want to filter these two columns, C and D, Shift Control down arrow, and then Control backspace, comma, if the country is Canada. So I select the country column from A3 down to the end if it is equal to cell M5 Canada. Otherwise, if it's empty, because we have in the drop list an option for an empty cell, then in this case I want double quote, I close the bracket and then hit enter. These are the holidays for Canada. I can hide column B, I don't need it for now. Now I have to extract the month if it's not blank. I'll use it for highlighting the holiday on the calendar. I type equal if this cell M7 is not blank, double quote, comma, then I want the month of M7. I close the bracket and type a comma. Otherwise, I don't want anything, double quote. I hit enter and now I have the month. I'm going to drag it down not only to the last holiday, which is Boxing Day, but I'm going to drag it few rows down because maybe for another country we have more holidays. So I don't see anything unless I have a corresponding value for the holiday and date. In order to bring these days below the calendar, I'm selecting the whole range and I want to name it by going to the Formulas tab of the ribbon, click on Create from Selection, or use the shortcut Ctrl-Shift-F3. I want to use the top row, which is holiday, date, and month for naming each column. I take the check away from left column and then I hit OK. Now let's go and bring the flag for the selected country. In cell D11, I type an equal sign. I go to the holidays worksheet and I click on cell N5 and I hit enter. I also want to bring the holidays for the selected country in the selected month and year. Then I use a filter function. I type equal filter and then I hit tab. What's your array? It's the named range, holiday. So I type holiday and I can see it in the intelligence list, comma, if the named range month equals the month returned by the scroll bar in cell B1. I click on cell B1. I then type a comma. If empty, I want a blank. Double quote, I close the bracket and then hit enter. Then for Canada in October 2024, that is Thanksgiving. If I move to the previous month, in September, we have 2 holidays. We need to highlight these holidays on the calendar, so I select the range from B4 down to H9, and I want to create a conditional formatting rule. This conditional formatting will consist of 2 logical tests. If cell B4 is equal to the month returned by the scroll bar in cell B1, that's the first logical test, and then a countif function that will count the date column and match it to cell B4. I go to the Home tab, I click on Conditional Formatting, New Rule, and then use a formula. I start by typing an equal sign, and because I have more than one single logical test, my first logical test is the month of cell B4. I open bracket, I click on cell B4, and I want to unlock it, so I hit F4 3 times. And then I type an equal sign and ask, is it equal to cell B1? And I keep it as an absolute set reference. That was the first logical test. The second logical test is a COUNTIF function. I open bracket for the COUNTIF. We name the range date, so I type date, and then I type a comma, and I say, is it equal to cell B4? I can type it or I can select it. I close the bracket for the COUNTIF. I close the bracket for the end function. In this case, I want to highlight the holiday in blue. I click on Format. I go to the fill and I select a light blue color. I hit OK twice, and now I can see the 2 holidays highlighted on the calendar. To enjoy the calendar and test, I'm going to hide the grid lines. I go to the View tab and I uncheck the box for grid lines, and now I can test my calendar. I can switch to a previous month. This is the month of August, and we can see the civic holiday highlighted on the calendar. I can go to the previous month, the month of July 2024, and Canada Day is highlighted on the calendar. If you want to switch to another year, you can click on the other scroll bar to go to 2025 or 2026. I can go back in time to 2024, and I want to change the month, and I want to change the country to bring holidays from another country. So let's say for September, we have 2 national holidays in Canada, but I can use the drop list for the country in cell B11 and select USA. That's Labor Day, the 2nd of September. This is the month of October, Columbus Day in the US, and this is the month of November. There are 2 national holidays in November. If I go to December, there is only 1 single holiday in December. And I finished creating my project. We created in this project a dynamic calendar for any month in any year. We were able to add holidays on the calendar for any country. Following the same concept, you can add birthdays. You can add important events to your calendar. And if you found value in this tutorial, give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to my channel to be notified when new tutorials are released. The best is yet to come. Thanks for watching and see you next time.